Hello, today I'm going to share with you my build orders for all 18 commanders on maps with destructible rocks. Note that these are the openings I currently use when I'm on autopilot. They might change as I learn more and other players may have better build orders. And Rifts to Core Hall requires different build orders due to the quick first waves. So this is for all the other maps with rocks. Note that you should not stop worker production unless the build order mentions otherwise, and you should always have 3 workers on gas unless otherwise mentioned. Most of these are just up to what I do until the first wave, and then after that I just kind of wing it, so I don't really have a fixed build order beyond that. So to use this, you can write down the build order and put the piece of paper in front of your monitor and then try to follow it, practice it. You can also screenshot the build order and open the picture on your second monitor so you can look at it while you're playing the game. The terms I will use are like number plus building. So the number is what your supply count is at. For example, 14 depot means when your supply is at 14, the number in the top right corner, you will build a depot. At 100 gas means that as soon as you have 100 gas, you build the next thing or you do the next thing. Sometimes I will just write the names of buildings in succession. So you should build these as soon as you have the minerals to build them, but without stopping worker production. So you basically just get them one after another. Let's start with Raynor. For P0 or P2, I start with 15 depot, then 16 CC next to rocks, build a barracks at 18, and then get an orbital command when the first barracks is done. If the first wave hits before 4 minutes, you get a bunker and marines of like 1 to 2, and another CC if the first wave hits at 4 minutes so that you can use your dusk wings to clear them. You get a refinery and then 1 to 2 more barracks and then a tech lab on the first barracks all before 4 minutes so you can get your upgrades. For P1, since you don't need orbitals so quickly, I get the gas at 17 and then I can get the tech labs so a little sooner. I get 2 barracks at the same time and then bunker if the first wave hits before 4 minutes. And I will do the same thing as P0, so want another barracks, tech labs on the 2 barracks so that I can get the fire bats, because usually that's what P1 is for. For P3, I get orbital command at 14 supply, and then at 400 minerals. When the orbital is done, you should have 400 minerals, so you get a CC at the rocks, and then get another SCV and then a depot. If the first wave hits before 4 minutes, I get a barracks so that I can stop it with marines and a few SCVs repairing. Otherwise, you can get another CC and take care of the first wave with the dusk wings. At 20 supply, the second CC turns into OC and then get gas, and then eventually get starport gas, another starport, and then another command center, and then get a fusion core if you're going BCs. If you're going Banshee Vikings, then you get the tech lab. Next, Kerrigan. So Kerrigan, 14 Overlord, then get a gas, and then replace that drone. Then 17 pool, and then 18 get a second gas. Get a pair of lings to break the rocks. Some people think that you should wait until Kerrigan to come out and save that money. I think it's actually better to use the pair of lings because sometimes the rocks, like on Temple of the Past, they're in a different direction. So if they're not along the way, you're wasting Kerrigan's uptime breaking rocks. And also, it takes longer. So, like, if you make a pair of lings, you can get the hatchery right away before Kerrigan even comes out. At 100 gas, you get the lair, and then you get an evolution chamber. And when the lair is done, get an omega worm, and then the hive, or hive and the omega worm, depending on what you want. Once the rocks are down, you get a hatchery. I will say that Kerrigan's build order is one of the like most random ones because I sometimes like change it, and I don't even really know why. I have a general idea. This is generally what I do. All right, for Artanis, P0, P1, or P2, I get 15 gateway, 16 gas, 17 gas, and then a cyber and a pylon when the gateway is done. Make a zealot to attack the rocks. Use orbital strike twice on the rocks, but not if P2 to save the energy. Once the cyber core is done, make a twilight, robo, or stargate depending on what you're going for. Usually it's a twilight. For P3, I send the 15th probe to the rocks and start attacking the rocks, and then Unbound Fanatics can break all the rocks, then make a nexus. Then, after getting back home, make gateway, gas, cyber, core, then pylon, and then same as P0. Everything is just a little slower, but you get your nexus up by 3 minutes. For Swann, I built the depot at 14 using 2 SCVs, and then those 2 SCVs can make a factory, and then the next SCV plus 2 more will triple build the gas. Once the factory is done, make an armory with 2 SCVs, and with this, with the drill mastery, you can get the drill by 2 minutes 45 seconds, upgrade the drill right away, you have just enough. Then get an eBay and then make static defense for the first wave. If the first wave isn't going to come for a while, make 1 blaster ability to destroy the rocks at the net. For Zagara, I get 9 gas, 11 pool, then I get 1 drone or a pair of drones, and then gas, and then overlord. Baneling Nest, when the pool is done, you should have about 50 gas and 100 minerals as soon as the pool is done. Then make pair of drones. And then with P1, I get the lair as soon as quickly, and then a Scourge Nest, so I get the free stuff quickly. For the other prestiges, I get an Evolution Chamber to get the HP upgrade for Zagara. For Vorazun, I get 14 gas, 15 gas, and then 15 Dark Pylon, 16 Gateway, and then eventually get Cyber Core. Once that's done, get a Twilight. Once that's done, get Dark Shrine. After you have 19 probes on minerals, send all the subsequent probes to break the gas rocks so that you can get gas sooner. The Shadow Guards finish off the rocks, then teleport home to take care of the first wave. Karax. For Karax, regardless of prestige, I get up to 15 probes, then send the 14th probe to the Expo and attack it. So you will attack the rocks 20 times, and then you use 19 orbital strikes and let the probe finish the rocks, then you'll get a Nexus and then a Pylon. Then you get Gas, Gateway, Gas Forge. Even if you're going P3 or P1, you should get Gateway first so that you can tech up to Cyber Core and then Twilight Council sooner to get more energy. Once you have 100 gas, you get the energy upgrade. For Abathur, his economy is not important. So first, you send a drone out to where you're going to lure. At 150 minerals, you make a roach warren, then replace the drone. Once the warren is done, you make a spore with the first drone to start luring, and then make a drone at home and make a roach. When you're supply capped, then you make an overlord and then get your gases later. You just basically survive with your first brutalist, and the econ is not too important. For Alarak, well, you get 14 pylon, and then at around 1 minute 15 seconds, you send your probe to the natural, build a pylon, then you overcharge it, and then you get a nexus. After getting the nexus, you get a gateway and then 2 gases. I wrote P3 because it's really his only prestige, but I do the same for the other ones as well. So this should be Alarak P1, P2, or P3. For Nova P1, I get 13 gas, 14 gas, and then when you have 50 gas, you start building the barracks. Usually it's at the choke to stall. And when you get 100 gas, you can build a starport. And your starport should finish before the barracks. Once you have 14 SCVs on minerals, you send all the subsequent SCVs you make to break the gas rocks at your natural, and then get gas as soon as you can when the rocks go down. And a Raven can help break rocks by dropping auto turret. For P3, I get 13 gas, 14 gas, then a barracks, and do the same thing for the rocks at the natural. It's the same thing except that you can't get a star as quickly. For Stukov P1, I get 15 CC at the rocks and then an overlord, then get 2 gases, 17, 19, and then a barracks just to infest. You don't really need it if you don't want to. Then get an overlord and then a factory. At 3 minutes, you can uproot your Natch CC because it'll be done and use Infest Structure to break the rocks. One thing you can do with the CC is that you manually walk back and forth, similar to how you move the Hyperion, and that will allow the Broodlings to get a more surface area on the rocks. Then, after the factory's done, you get an armory and then a tech lab, and hopefully you get the slime upgrade, because usually P1 you're going to be using Diamondbacks. For P3, I get a CC at the rocks, then an overlord, and then a barracks. And as long as you get an overlord when you're about 4 away from supply cap, you should be fine. You get a gas, 1 gas, and then a bunker, and then break the rocks with Infest Structure at 3 minutes. Eventually, you'll want an eBay and a tech lab so that you can get the upgrade that allows his infested marines to deal extra damage over time. For Fenix, I start with 13 pylon, 15 gate, 16 gas, 17 Twilight Council, chrono the conclave so Caldalis comes out sooner, Caldalis breaks the rocks, then you chrono the Twilight Council to get his AoE upgrade, then you get a Robo and a Cyber Core, and eventually all the ground champions, then you get a Nexus. For Dehaka, I get 19 gas, 20 Primal Warden at rocks, and then 23 gas, second gas. uproot the Primal Warden when it's done. You can build 1 Ling to break the rocks a little faster. Once you have 100 gas, which is around the time the Primal Warden is done, you get Glaivic Sten. Once the Glaivic Sten is done, you should have enough gas for Mervar Sten, and usually I get that before the Primal Hive because I want the pack leaders, especially for P2. Pack leaders are generally more important than his economy, because you can survive with just Dehaka and pack leaders early on. For Han and Horner, I get 13 supply, and then 15 Galleon, then 2 gases, 16, 17. Once the Galleon is done, I get Hellion or Reapers to break the rocks, and when I have 100 gas, I get an Armory, and I want at least 1 Strike Fighter platform when the Armory is done so that I can use the Space Station. Usually I get 2 Strike Fighters and then get a Fusion Core. For Tychus non-P1, I get CC at rocks at 17, then a gas, then 21 I get the first Outlaw building depending on what I'm going for. Usually it's for Sirius. Then at 3 minutes, at 23 supply, I can get Sirius and then get an eBay and Medevac platform. For P1, since I need more money for the first Outlaw, I get gas sooner so that I can mine sooner. And I build the Outlaw building later because I can't get the first Outlaw 3 minutes. It'll be around like 3:20ish or something when I get the first one. And everything else is the same. For Zeratul, 14 gates, and then once you have 14 probes on minerals, you send all subsequent probes to break the natural rocks. It's actually faster and cheaper than using like a Legion or making Stalkers, especially if you're not using ambushers for anything else. Get a Cyber Core when the gate is done, then Robo or Dark Shrine. For Stetmann, I get 14 Overlord, then a gas, get gas, and then replace the drone. Since you have Blue Zone, you can put only 2 on gas and you'll mine very efficiently with just 2. Eventually, when the Overlord comes out, you make 4 more drones and then get a second gas and 2 on that when it's done. 18 pool, 19 Overlord. Once the pool is done, you get a lair, and then when that's done, you get Infestation Pit and then a hive. If you're going for P1, get Hardened Shield for Lings instead of a hive because you don't need to rush Super Gary. And I suggest that you put your 3rd drone on gas before the hive is done, because what happens is you might forget, and when you switch between zones, you lose that speed buff. Finally, for Mengsk, I drop the supply bunker at rocks. Sometimes for like OE and Void Thrashing, you need to send an SCV to get vision, then you can drop the bunker. I get up to 16 SCVs on minerals in the main, then I build the CC at the natural once the rocks are down. Triple build both gases, then get a depot at 22, building with 2 SCVs. And then around 25, I get a barracks, and at that time, I'll have 25 mandate again. Drop a supply bunker, so turn them into workers, and then multi-build the barracks, then the factory, then the starport, then get the witness, and then the fusion core. And that's it. Hope this was helpful for you. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below.